All right, everyone, let's get started. Hello again, and my name is Charlotte Dreisen. I'm a project manager with Green Blue, one of the founding partners of the Composting Collaborative. Welcome to the Composting Collaborative's May webinar. We have an awesome lineup of speakers today, and I'm so looking forward to their presentations and the conversation we'll have afterwards. Today, we'll be focusing on co-collecting organic material with landfill waste. It's a super cool topic and one I'm really personally excited to learn a lot about. I won't go into the detailed background of all of our speakers today. I'll let them introduce themselves, but I do want to let you know who they are. First, we'll be hearing from Deb Darby, the Marketing Director of Organic Solutions. Next, we'll be hearing from Jody Gallup, Assistant City Administrator with the City of Medina, Minnesota. And last but certainly not least, we'll be hearing from Mark Wesson, Zero Waste Specialist and Advisor with the City of Boulder, contrary to the last slide, not the County of Boulder. Without further ado, Deb, I'd love to turn it over to you.
Charlotte, thank you very much. Appreciate everyone joining us for our webinar today. So I get to lead off and talk about our layered approach for managing solid waste and organics recycling. I'd like to just kind of start off a little bit. You know, organics is a recyclable. It's one material that's not affected by the China sword. In that regard, it is the purest recyclable, meaning that it's generated locally and it can be recycled by local composters into a variety of nutrient-rich soil amendment products. And of course, these products can be used locally in our gardens, growing fruit and vegetables, but on playing fields and golf courses as well. So it's so important for cities to consider and purchase locally produced compost for use in our communities to help restore much-needed topsoil. Organic Solutions, our mission to provide cost-effective and sustainable collection and treatment solutions that recover organic waste and maximize the potential value of recyclable feedstocks. We are a organics recovery and solid waste company. We're headquartered in Minnesota. I keep an office here in Massachusetts. Our roots began in waste hauling, and about 14 years ago, in response to Minnesota state and municipal legislation around organics diversion, we began vetting various methods of collecting organics as a separate waste stream. You know, we did try the dedicated truck, the extra cart to collect organics, but it really wasn't economically feasible, primarily due to scattered routes, that weren't efficient. And, waste collection vehicles are typically large and really don't have really good gas mileage. So we really devised a plan to develop a program that would be based on a compostable bag where we could collect the organics along with the trash to, improve route efficiencies. So that's kind of the beginning of what we called in Minnesota Blue Bag Organics. This co-collection model is based on a compostable bag, which we designed from a waste hauler's perspective. It's designed to be strong enough to make it through the entire, if you will, collection process, from the source separation of the organics in the household to putting that bag in the same cart as the trash, having the waste collection vehicle then collect that trash, and then that bag stays intact all the way through to the composter. So really what this enables, it enables a single waste collection vehicle to collect both the organic waste and the general waste on a single trip. So we're reducing the number of trucks on the road and the number of carts that you might find at the curb, which does reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We manufacture our own compostable bags, as I mentioned, because they have to withstand the compaction of the truck and be very durable in use and yet certified compostable. So these bags are branded as the Blue Bag Organics in Minnesota, and they're also branded Green Bag Organics as we roll this program out nationwide. But we're very pleased that we did receive a patent on the actual co-collection method. And to be able to accomplish this, we actually got vetted by both the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and the Department of Revenue. because there's something really unique about Minnesota. If you maintain recyclables as a separate waste stream, that material is exempt from the solid waste tax. So that was the reason for these two agencies to really vet our program, so that the program and the bags and the material collected in that bag is maintained as a separate waste stream. And what we were evaluated on, that the compostable bags were flexible and strong enough to withstand the compaction in that waste vehicle. And of course, the single waste collection vehicle was able to collect both of the materials and still maintain a separate waste stream while in that truck. So that was a really important and big hurdle for us to pass. And the really interesting thing, although our parent company is Randy's Environmental Services, a private waste hauler in Minnesota, Organic Solutions has been able to take everything that we've learned about organics, and we've become, if you will, a standalone company. So now we can work with all haulers and all municipalities across the state. And really what has evolved is the program itself has grown to over 44 cities in Minnesota, and then we're really building some traction outside of the state in areas including Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Colorado. And the green bag program is exactly like the blue bag. It's just a different color. And what we've learned over time with our organics co-collection program, which is a very cost-effective and sustainable curbside program for municipalities and for haulers to offer, the same program can be used for commercial entities. And we will hear from Mark Wesson a little later about commercial organics programs. But what I want to touch on is that we have not only the co-collection bags themselves, but also a full line of commercial bags that have the same durability for those hard-working kitchen environments, both back and front of house. And what's really unique about the bags designed for co-collection, commercial entities that might use a compactor due to space limitations where they can't afford the space to have multiple containers out back, our extreme duty co-collection bags that are designed for residential can be used in that compactor, and that's one aspect of co-collection that can be used in a commercial environment. So that's a real quick kind of overview about our organics co-collection program, which we call our layer one and our layered approach. And I wanted to take just a little time to talk about why a layered approach for recycling organics to highest and best use is so important. We recognize the value and the importance of doing good curbside programs, both for conventional recyclables, but also for organics at curbside. But even after those curbside programs, there's still a significant amount of organic and compostable paper that's still trapped in that solid waste stream. So part of the work that we're doing around organics and recycling materials to highest and best use is going into that waste stream and processing to remove the remaining compostable materials. So I did mention our layer one, which is our co-collection. When we start getting into the material recovery facilities, we now can apply automated robotics for sorting those compostable bags to, if you will, remove some of the manual labor out of sorting the bags. So layer one really does focus on the co-collection and then sorting out of these food waste compostable bags at a mid or an end point, a MRF or other type of a material recovery facility. Our layer two, this is where we're actually going into the trash and removing the 2-inch minus material. We've done some studies with independent research facilities, and 52% of that 2-inch minus is organics, along with glass and grit and other fines. But it's an amazing amount of material that needs to come out of the solid waste stream, and that's what the process is for the layer 2. The layer 3 is another technology that can further process the flat paper fraction that's still trapped in the waste stream, and the process can open up the fibers to turn it into an engineered feedstock, which then can be applied to either a composting or an anaerobic facilities. So let me just kind of go through here a little deeper. I just wanted to kind of set the platform here for our layered approach for managing organics. So when we take a look at the Minnesota waste characterization, and this is one of the better waste characterization studies that we have come across, what I really want to point out to in this slide is the 75.8% of recoverable municipal solid waste that's trapped in that waste stream. And our layered approach process is really about going in and getting that 75.8%. And as you can see here in this slide, organic materials represents 31%, along with the paper fraction is just under 25%, and then the fines, or that 2-inch minus that I talked about, is 10.5%. So that's a significant amount of material that we want to go in and capture and repurpose. So as we had already looked at the layer 1 for co-collection, a curbside program that the bags are then delivered to a mid or an end point and then automatically sorted by robotic technology. This is technology that we have already installed at a Delano facility, Delano, Minnesota, where our parent company has their operations. And believe me, if anyone would like to tour, just let me know, because we can set up for tours to see this equipment in action. Layer 2, as I described briefly, is that recovery of the 2-inch minus. So when you are inside a material recovery facility, the first type of technology that you see are the screens. They're roughly a 2-inch minus. There's a conveyor, either 20 or 40 feet of conveyor, where 2-inch minus material is going to drop down through this 2-inch screen. And this material can be removed for further processing, but also to improve the efficiencies of other downstream technologies. And what I'm getting at is a lot of the material, at least in Massachusetts, is going to a combustion facility. And this 2-inch minus isn't really good for combustion. It ends up in the ash, and it really just adds to the waste in that particular process. Our burst cell technology is really a really interesting system that can open up the paper fraction and fiber to create a homogeneous feedstock that has a lot of surface area where microbes can latch onto, and actually this is a very high nutrient and high energy type of a feedstock that in the next couple of slides I can go into more detail about how this very active and homogeneous feedstock can be very good material for either anaerobic digestion or for composting. And what you're seeing here on the slides in Figure 1, this is literally raw residential collected MSW going into the burr cell, which is a very high heat and moist type of a vacuum. Think about how popcorn would open up, literally bursting from the inside, bursting open, just like breaking the kernel of corn open. This is the type of action that the burr cell applies to material to break it open to create a lot of surface area. And then the Figure 3 shows you what the material looks like after it comes out of this approximate 45-minute cycle. then, of course, when we get to the layer 4, that's taking that burr cell material, and that can be applied to either anaerobic digestion, composting, but also for other processes that we're not quite talking about in today's webinar, thinking a little out loud here around some biochemistry or other type of fuel or other type of organic-based feedstock that could be used for next-generation product. I think what's really been happening around the country is legislation kind of driving the desire to remove organics and compostable papers out of our waste stream. And this is really just a quick little slide just to show where states are really leading to move municipal programs in the direction of getting organics out of the waste stream. And I think we have a very sophisticated audience, but I would like to just close and remind people of the benefits of compost and what it can do to improve quality of life on Earth. And the other comment I'd like to make is we definitely have a need for building out infrastructure for organic recycling that support both commercial composting and anaerobic digestion. Our existing waste disposal system is very linear, and we need to transform the way that we manage waste so that we're recovering material and bringing it back into our communities through composting or through anaerobic digestion. And I'm going to end it here, and I'm going to pass the baton to our next speaker, Jody Gallup with the City of Medina.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Excuse me. Medina, Minnesota is a western, just give you a little background about the city. We're about 6,000 residents, and we're a western suburban community in Minneapolis, Twin Cities metropolitan area. And we're located within Hennepin County, which is the same county that the city of Minneapolis is located in. Medina has been doing organics, recycling, curbside. We've been offering it for this is our 11th year offering organics. I wanted to give you a little bit of history on our program first, as far as where we got started and where we are today. Again, as a little background, the city of Medina is an organized city in Minnesota. The state law allows for communities to have organized garbage collection if they meet certain requirements as far as reducing the wear on the roads, being more environmentally friendly, and things like that. And so Medina back in 1986 became an organized collection city for those reasons. We wanted to make sure our waste was managed environmentally, and we wanted to minimize the truck traffic on our roads and make sure that all of our residents had access to garbage service, because in 86 we were a very rural community, which we still are today, and we had split the community up into 3 zones just to make sure we had a hauler coming to every part of our community. And because we have organized collection and we're not an open hauling city where people can pick who their hauler is and try to get competitive rates, it's the city of Medina's responsibility to go out for RFPs every 5 to 10 years and negotiate contracts to make sure that we're still providing our residents with a competitive service for garbage and for recycling. And back in 2007 was the first year that the city of Medina began to start talking about organics recycling and the need for it, and to get that out of our waste stream. And Hennepin County at the time was offering grants for pilot programs, and so we took them up and we put an application in for a grant application. And when we sent out our RFP for garbage, we included that in the garbage the request for proposal, letting them know that there's a possibility that we're going to be getting some grant money to help with a pilot organics program, and we asked the haulers to bid on it. And at the time, Randy Sanitation, or Environmental Services, bid the most competitive bid, and we came to an agreement where the city received the grant money, and we used the grant money to reimburse the hauler for the carts, for the separate organic carts, to keep the cost low for our residents for the organics recycling program. And so starting in January 1st of 2008, we started with separate carts for trash. We had dual sort recycling at the time, and then we had a separate organics cart, which was on a subscription basis. And the cost was affordable. We only charged residents $4 per month for the weekly organics pickup. And after the first year, we had 140 households out of 1,500, roughly, single-family households. So we had about 9% subscription rate in that first year. And we continued this program throughout the 5 years of that contract with Randy's. And our rates were pretty steady. We'd increase. We did programs we advertised the program, and we had a few more people subscribe year after year. But for the most part, the rate was, as far as the subscription, was pretty steady as far as how many residents were part of the program. And after the first 5 years was up and we were going out for a bid again for garbage service, Randy's came back to us and proposed a new contract, and to introduce this Blue Bag Organics program. And what Deborah Darby just explained to everybody here, where we were able to get rid of we were able to pull the organics carts off the road, and residents then had this blue bag that was 100% compostable, durable, flexible, BPI certified, and they collected their organics in this liner, and then they were tied in a knot, and then on garbage day threw it in their trash carts. So they proposed this to us, and we were able to implement this program in 2013 and switch to the Blue Bag system and get a truck off of our roads, and then also people were able to get their organics picked up weekly because the garbage service came weekly as well. And then this is just a cycle as one of our kind of advertising tools to our residents to show how organics recycling works, which I know Deborah just went into more detail. But if you look on the far left, it kind of starts with in your kitchen up here, and where you're recycling your organic waste, your food products and your soiled paper products, and any compostable material, 100% compostable materials. And then that goes into your blue bag. The blue bag gets tied in a knot, put in the trash. It gets dumped in the trash cart or the truck, and then the truck dumps it. And then at the facility, the workers are pulling the blue bags out, and then they turn that into compost, which you can plant more food, and the cycle continues. So it's kind of a nice picture to advertise the program to our residents. And at the time when we switched to this program in 2013, we also switched to a single sort recycling cart versus the bin where we had dual sort recycling. So there were a couple changes all happening at once. Our recycling fee went from $2.20 per month up to $5 per month for the switch to the dual sort to single sort. And then also that included the Blue Bag Organics program in that $5 per month fee. So residents only had to pay a few more dollars a month, which they were thrilled just to have the single sort recycling carts. And then they had the bonus of the Blue Bag Organics program on top of that for no additional charge. So the way that we made this program affordable is everybody was charged the $5 per month for recycling, whether they opted into the organics or not. So that, and then it also promoted getting more people to sign up for our organics program, because we would encourage them, you're already paying for it, or it's included in the cost of your recycling fee, and then people would join that way to start participating in the organics, because they didn't have to pay that extra $4 per month like they did previously when we had the separate cart on the road. So the city was a little nervous when we were going into this contract, because we didn't know if we get a huge pushback from moving our fee from $2.20 to $5 per month. So we did have language in our contract that if we got enough opposition that we could reverse the program and charge $3 per month for the single sort recycling, and then charge any residents that wanted to participate in the Blue Bag Organics $79.95 per year, which would really just be the amount of money needed to supply the organic compostable blue bags for the program. And so far we only had received positive comments. We had no negative comments or anybody upset about the increase in the fee. So because our fees were still very reasonably priced when comparing to other communities. So the Blue Bag program, some of the ways we advertise this, we have on our city website, we did a scrolling news story that was continuous where you could click on it and find more information, or you could find it under our residence guide on our website. We gave free compost to participating residents. So you can see on the bottom right here this picture of bags of the Blue Bag compost. So once a year at our spring cleanup day, which we just had a couple weeks ago, residents, we would send coupons out to residents, and they could come to our spring cleanup day and pick up a free bag of compost just as a thank you for participating in the program. So that was something everybody looks forward to and enjoys getting. And then the county, Hennepin County, has helped us out a lot. They've created these stickers, so they're countywide, and it's this clear message. So there's stickers that you can put on your organics carts, on your trash carts, on your recycling, and so that way help people. So we give those out to residents at City Hall, and they can put those. And then we have magnets and different things just to help kind of continue to promote the program that we've received from the county. Another thing we do is we have a recycle calendar that goes out to our residents every year, and because it's every other week for the recycling pickup, and then organics and trash are weekly. So, but that just helps people know when the recycling pickup is. And on the back side of the calendar, we have a side-by-side guide for recycling and organics, so everybody knows all the materials that can go in their recycling and everything that can go in their organics. We've done some other promotional pieces where we send out separate mailings. We just recently did a postcard mailing where we were able to send out, or a mailing that had a detachable postcard that then the residents could fill out and just send pre-postage paid postcard back to sign up for organics if they haven't signed up already. And then we really push it with our new residents. So I think we get the most people subscribing to our program through the new residents, because we let them know about it when they first come into City Hall to set up their utilities and homestead their property. Then we let them know the benefits of and then we have the stickers and the magnets and all the promotional pieces that we can just hand them and get them going right away. And the blue bags. We have blue bags here too as well. So some of our successes in our organics program, first of all, it's affordable. It's the best way to save money. Residents aren't paying any extra. They don't even realize they're paying for it. So it's easy to get them to sign up, and then they can. And we actually have provided a $20 credit on their bills just for signing up, which helps on their garbage bill, just as an extra thank you to say, hey, we appreciate you signing up for this program. It's a great way. And once they start using it, they love it, and they don't. And those fears go away once you start using it. Of how do I do this? How do I sort it? Is it going to smell? Things like that. Another huge success is eliminating that truck off the roads in Minnesota. With the weather change from the spring, especially, those trucks take a big toll on our roads. And to get one extra truck off the road, that's helped us a lot. And also residents like not having that extra cart at the end of their driveway. So that's been huge. We're reducing waste in the landfills. Like I said, we do the free composting for our residents, and so this is a picture here of some of our staff handing out the blue bags to residents at our city cleanup day last year. And so currently we've increased our participation rate now since we've started the Blue Bag Organics program to 448 households out of a little over 2,000 households. So we're about a 21% participation rate with our Blue Bag Organics collection. So some of the challenges in the program. It's slow for the increases. I think the people that are passionate about it are signed up, which is great, but it's just getting those people that don't really understand the importance to sign on. And not everybody reads their mail, so we continue to try to promote it, and we're hoping the $20 incentive has helped get a few more people signed up each month as well. One thing is we'd like to get some neighborhoods to do some promotion within the neighborhood to really promote how we can increase our participation even more. And educating residents about the tools we have, that it doesn't smell any more than what your household garbage already smells, because it's the same material whether you're separating it or just putting it in the garbage container. And providing labels that some people worry that they're not generating enough waste. So this program helps in that sense, that there is other things that you can see. There's paper egg curtains, soil paper products, paper towel, those types of things, eggshells. Those things can also go in your organics waste. And then also we are a rural community, so a lot of people do backyard composting, so they maybe don't need the curbside program. So sometimes I think our numbers might be a little bit low for that, but there are quite a few mini subdivisions in the community as well, and those are the people that have really taken advantage of this Blue Bag Organics recycling program. And then we need to continue to increase the public awareness of our county and state goals. The Hennepin County, where we're located, has a 75% recycle rate by 2030 goal, and they've been pushing this and trying to get more of the Hennepin County cities signed up with the organics program by changing some of their funding policies on how they reimburse the cities for on how many participants of organics you have versus how many participants of just recycling you have in some of our recycling grant money that's available. And then also the state of Minnesota has a goal for zero waste to landfills by 2030. And back in 2016, they started enforcing a state statute that restricts disposal of waste to our waste energy facilities, so our burners, before they could go to landfills. So that's been a huge help to try to get more waste out of the, and then having the haulers are forced to bring their waste to the waste energy facilities prior to going to landfills, and then when the landfills, or when the waste energy facilities are full, then they have to go to the landfills. But it helps try to reduce that waste. So the haulers are working too to try to decrease the amount of waste they're bringing as well to overall. And so another huge goal or hurdle or challenge as a city is that our city council turns over. And I'm sure there's other cities on the line here that experience this as well. And back when we first started this program in 2007, we had our whole 5-member council was very supportive of the initiative and all on board, and they were all participants. And as members of the council have turned over the years, they don't. It's not that they don't think this is an important issue. They do think it's an important issue, but it's not their number one priority. So then sometimes just re-educating and training them of the importance. We actually just now came up on our 5-year renewal of our current contract since we've been doing the Blue Bag. And so it took a lot of initiative and work to stress the importance of continuing this Blue Bag Organic program and the participation and not switching contractors that maybe don't offer such a robust organics recycling program for our residents. And we didn't want to lose the rates and the tonnages that we currently have by switching to a hauler that didn't offer a program to our residents or that would make it more expensive. So those were the main challenges I had on our program, but we're still plugging away and making progress. And now I'm going to hand it over to Mark.
All right, thank you very much. So my name is Mark Weston. I am with the City of Boulder. I work with the Climate and Sustainability Division on the Zero Waste team. My title is Zero Waste Advisor. Essentially what I do is I work with businesses in town to help them with compliance with the Universal Zero Waste Ordinance, which we're going to get to, and I'm going into a little bit more detail about what that is and what it entails a little bit later on. But I do want to give a little brief history of zero waste in Boulder, similarly to what Jody just did. And I realize as I'm doing this that this little skeleton timeline that I have here is doesn't have that much information, so I'm going to try to fill in some gaps with some new information I actually just got yesterday. So bear with me. We're going to hang out on this slide for a little bit as I go kind of through the history. So basically, curbside recycling started in Boulder in 1976 with a small nonprofit called EcoCycle. They drove around in a school bus collecting recycling from residents. And that kind of, of course, grew into a bigger, more robust program over the years until in 1989, the City of Boulder contracted with Western Disposal, a trash hauler, to do curbside recycling, and EcoCycle as well to process the materials. And then that kind of went on for a little while until in the early 90s they realized we needed a little bit more infrastructure to be able to manage the materials better. So voters approved the trash tax, which would eventually fund the construction of the Boulder County Recycling Center. So in 2001, the construction of the Boulder County Recycling Center was completed, and a lot of interesting things kind of happened in 2001. So it became apparent that the increased cost of running the recycling curbside collection program was not equaling the amount of revenue that we were getting in. So the city was losing money. So there was a discussion as to what to do about that. The decision that was made was to let go of the municipally run recycling program and let private hauling system take over, where the city would then regulate it. And that is where we got to the model that we have now, which is also the model in all of the greater Boulder County, where the 11 other, each municipality has their own kind of thing, but for the most part, the unincorporated Boulder County, as well as the city of Boulder, has this private hauling system. Also in 2001 is also when EcoCycle opened the Center for Hard to Recycle Materials in partnership with the city. And it's also when we had the pay-as-you-throw model begin, where residents would get charged by the size of their trash container and unlimited recycling. In 2006, the city adopted our zero waste goal, which is essentially still, it has the timeline has changed, but currently our goal is to reach 85% diversion or darn near by 2025. So we've got some work to do. In 2008, our residential curbside composting program began. That's also when we moved to single stream. So what was interesting in Boulder is we had 3 routes. We had our trash route, and we had 2 recycling routes, one for paper, one for bottles and cans and other materials. So when we went to single stream, since we already had the 2 recycling routes set up, the composting route kind of took over for one of those routes. So we don't have co-collection here for composting. We have a separate collection process for composting, and that's kind of how that all played out here. So then another important date here is the 2013. The city decided we wanted to do something about the disposable bag problem. So we, since we can't in the state of Colorado actually ban any plastic substances, we decided to go with a bag fee. So we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later, but that is where we would charge 10 cents for every bag that a resident might get at a grocery store. And then in 2014, there was a lot of discussion around our diversion rates, and we realized that our residential rates were gradually increasing up to somewhere near 50%, and yet our commercial rates were still very low, less than 20%, and our multifamily residents' recycling rates were even lower. So there was a lot of discussion about how can we increase that, what kind of regulations might we put in place to deal with that. So there was a lot of community focus groups, and what was interesting was in those focus groups we kind of learned that there is a big issue with illegal dumping in the city, and it became apparent that over about 20% of residents didn't subscribe to trash service, and so there was discussion about how we could try to alleviate that illegal dumping issue, which is where the universal zero waste ordinance kind of came into play that applies to everybody. That's kind of where the decision to create the Universal Zero Waste Ordinance began. So we're going to talk a little bit now, moving on to the next slide, onto what that Universal Zero Waste Ordinance is. So it applies to all single-family homeowners. Everybody must subscribe to a hauling service. Of course, there are exemptions to that, and if a family self-hauls, brings their own materials, they can apply for an exemption. It's a pretty simple process. But this way, we just have better control over and understanding like what's going on in our community, and hopefully that will, in time, it's a little bit too early to say, but hopefully that in time can help with that illegal dumping problem by requiring a subscription or an exemption. And then as far as property managers and businesses, so property managers must provide adequate trash, recycling, and composting service to their tenants, and that includes all multifamily units throughout the city. We have over 900 complexes that we consider multifamily units. And then it also applies to businesses. Businesses must separate the recyclables and compostables from the trash and provide proper bins and signage. So, and then also all special events that are held on city property must also be zero waste. So we're going to go into a little bit more detail now about the business side of things. So again, all property owners must provide recycling and composting as well as trash. So there is, in some cases, there's been some issues with space constraints. So property managers can apply for an exemption due to space constraints. But usually through the hauler and getting creative and sharing a collection with neighboring businesses or a neighboring multifamily unit, we can kind of get around the space issue. So this space has not been that big of an issue. We seem to always be able to overcome it. So here's what businesses must have to do. All businesses have to have this 3-bin system. We encourage businesses to, as much as they can, when they have a public-facing waste system, to have all containers in the same location. It's not always possible, so we definitely work with each individual business in its own unique situation. We provide these laminated signs. The ones that you see in this picture are actually custom signs that we created. Our generic signs are pretty much pictures of your most common material that you're going to find in each individual waste stream. And part of the regulation is that it either needs to be picture only, or if there's going to be words and descriptions of what goes in there, those words need to be in English and in Spanish. We found that most businesses like kind of our medium ground, where it's bigger pictures and limited words, but definitely the words, people like having those. So in this picture here, this is a custom sign, so we actually take pictures of items that business will serve, and we'll create signs for them. We've partnered with Boulder County and their Partners for a Clean Environment program to help. They also have a couple of advisors similar to my role, helping with business advising, so they've done a lot of work with making sure the businesses get the proper signs. So that's part of the requirement. Recently, we realized that, and I'm sure a lot of people on here can relate to this, people don't always look at the signs. They don't, or they look at the signs and they're still confused, and so they'll kind of throw their material in whatever bin is closest, or they just get frustrated and put it in whatever. So our colleague Noah Eisenman created this 1, 2, 3 signs, as we call them. That kind of takes the thinking out of it for people. So you step 1, all this stuff goes in the compost. Step 2, all this stuff goes in recycling. Everything else goes in the trash. And we're putting these kind of signs up in self-busing restaurants all throughout town. And they seem, thus far, in places that we put them up, it seems to be having a little bit better effect in getting a slightly cleaner waste stream there. So promising results with these new signs. And then the final aspect of the ordinance is that all special events in Boulder must also be zero waste. So anytime you have a special event in Boulder, you're going to see a waste station similar to this, where you're not even going to see trash. Everything must be compostable. And that program's getting stronger and stronger every year. Okay, so what are some of the obstacles that we have been facing with the ordinance? And this is what's going to lead me into our connection with Organic Solutions and our green bag giveaway, which I'll get to in a minute. Of course, we don't require that businesses use compostable items or these compostable bags to collect their compostable materials. So we're seeing a decent amount of regular trash bags being used to collect compostable materials, and oftentimes these trash bags are ending up in the compost container. And that is obviously a problem, and so we want to help alleviate that issue. Also, the extra compost service is an extra cost to businesses. It can be quite significant at times. So these extra costs and then the extra cost of the bags leads to some resistance. For the most part, it's been amazing that many businesses are either very grateful and thankful that we're doing this. They appreciate it and support the reasoning behind what we're trying to do, which is really wonderful to hear. But of course, we are met with plenty of businesses that they don't want to do this. It's costing them extra money. They have to redesign their whole system for collecting things. They have to explain it to their staff. There's a language barrier between them and their staff. There's lots of obstacles and challenges there. But one of the common things that we're hearing from businesses is that these compostable bags are extremely expensive and can be cost prohibitive. So that led us to think, how can we help? What can we do? And that started, so we started circling back to our bag fee that I mentioned earlier that was implemented in 2013, where we get 10 cents for every bag that people if they don't bring their own bags and they take plastic or paper bag, they get charged 10 cents. That had a great impact on reducing waste or reducing the use of bags initially by 68%, which was huge. But then it kind of plateaued. And from there, we're getting an additional yearly revenue of about $250,000. And when that program went into effect, those funds were set aside to only be used on specific items related to the impact of disposable bags. So we bought lots of reusable bags that we've given out to the public, to low-income community members. We've done a lot of community education on reduction of waste and related to bags. And then the funds have been used for new equipment at the Boulder County Recycling Center. We have this, we call it the bag sucker upper. It's just a vacuum, essentially, machine that sucks up plastic bags. So that's where some of that money has gone to, but we still have this big pot of money. And we got the approval from our lawyers back in last year to actually use the money to create a program where we can buy these compostable bags for businesses. So that led to our request for bids to manufacturers and distributors of compostable bags to create a program where we can do just that. So that's how we came to connect with Organic Solution. This is just a screenshot of some of the requirements of that bid, what we were really looking for. Really, some of the main things that we really wanted to make sure the program covered was that the ability for businesses to order directly from the suppliers so that we didn't have to be part of that process. We don't, we have a team of 5 here. We don't have the bandwidth to actually be able to do that. There needed to be an array of sizes to fit all the different needs of the community. And the distributor needed to be able to deliver the bags directly to the businesses because we don't have storage here. Essentially, we didn't want to be the middleman. We wanted to create a process where businesses could order directly, charge us, and all we have to do is really process the applications. And that's what we were able to do with Organic Solutions. We were very impressed with their mission-driven business model, and we were convinced that they were going to be able to set up this system for us to be able to do what we were hoping to do, and that's what happened. So we worked pretty closely with the folks at Organic Solutions for over a period of a couple of months to develop a system for how this would work. And we created a web page on our website and did a whole, when we were ready to go, we did a whole, email blast, information blast, Facebook and Twitter and all of that to our community, and sent out emails to as many businesses as we could to let them know that we would essentially cover the cost of about a 6-month supply of these compostable bags. So we did some basic calculations and came up with some numbers that we thought would be essentially a 6-month supply for both the retail, office sector, and then the restaurant sector as well. So when a business wants to get bags, they go onto our webpage. They get directed to a very brief application where they fill out their information. And then the great part about this that's been very helpful for us is in order to apply for the program, they need to submit photographs of their system and answer some questions that essentially I can look at that application and within 5 minutes determine that this place actually is in compliance with the ordinance, has all the signs, bins, everything they need to do, and they understand how to properly sort their waste. It's kind of a precursor to we're probably going to go to a self-reporting system in the future, and this gives us a lot of information about how we're going to get information from businesses to help us with that. So it's been very effective. Once I get an application and I approve it, I send an email to the business with instructions for how to order, and I CC Organic Solutions on that email, and they're there to answer any questions, and essentially Organic Solutions takes it from there to place the order, and then they send us a monthly bill. It's been really effective, really smooth, really easy, and we've had well over 100 applicants, and that's giving us a much better sense and idea of what's happening out there in the business community. So that's the program in a nutshell. It's pretty simple, but we used the funds from this bag fee and created this program where we can, hopefully keep buying bags for businesses for a long time, and as long as we have this bag fee in place, hopefully this program can remain in place into perpetuity. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So I think I am done, and we'll move on and open it up for questions.
Thanks so much, Mark, and Jody and Deb, for your awesome presentations. It's so helpful to get the context that you guys all provided, and I'm really excited to relay lots of questions from our audience members. Mark, the first question is for you. I think that it was really helpful to set the scene with Boulder's zero waste goals and plan, since it's so robust. Can you tell us what portion of the waste stream organics is in Boulder, and how big of a factor organics collection is in your guys' attempt to reach your zero waste goal?
Yeah, I mean it's similar to I wouldn't know the latest EPA figures. Like it's around, I guess organics makes up about 40% of the waste stream, and it's similar here in Boulder as it is throughout the country. So right now our current diversion, we just came up with our 2017 numbers, and we're hopeful that there's a slight increase in our diversion. We went from 2016 having an overall diversion rate of around 40% to 43% is our current numbers that we're about to release. And so that's exciting, and we hope that this has to do with the ordinance and what's going on out there. And, anecdotally, we know that a lot of the restaurants in town are doing this, and that's, of course, where a lot of the organics, is coming from on top, aside from the residents. So the residential rate has been over 50% diversion since 2008 when curbside composting began, and it's kind of remained pretty steady around there. So, the purpose of this, one of the main purposes of this ordinance is to increase that organics collection from the commercial side of things, which I think we're starting to see, but it's a little soon to say. We just implemented it in 2016, so it hasn't been in place very long, and it's hard to kind of say, these are the trends thus far.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark. And can I ask the same question of Jody and Deb? Have you guys reached your desired diversion goals, or what are they, Jody and Medina? And then Deb, if you might be able to speak to, I'm sure it varies by program, but in the communities that Organic Solutions work in, what diversion rates do you typically try and achieve?
As far as Medina goes, we've been trying to. I haven't really focused too much on the actual amount of diversion, because in our goal is first to reuse and reduce, reuse, and then recycle. And so we're promoting all of those things, and we have lots of reuse things through the county and promotions that we participate in, and then the recycling rates, they've been increasing, and then lastly, and then recycling as well, and is recycling organics as well. And so that's kind of the last of the things. First, you want to reuse and reduce and recycle, or reduce, reuse, recycle is the order. So, I just looked at our most current number of diversion, and we have 448 participants, and right now our organics, in 2017 we collected 44 tons. So it seems like a small number, but we also are a small community. And then, like I mentioned during my presentation, we're a rural community, and there's a lot of people that backyard compost along with this program. And then the thing that's great about this program is that they can put things that they can't put in their backyard compost in their program at the curb.
Hi. Thank you. Great question. So this is Deborah. So when a co-collection program gets started in a community, in a municipality, typically we see about a 10% participation rate at the onset. And really our goal is to try to hit a 40% participation rate within a community. And that typically can take a few years. And I think Jody's example, really hits it. It's all about education and communicating, and really these programs, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of marketing, a lot of communication to get participation. And certainly you have your early adopters, your neighborhood champions that are really good at sort of separating organics in the home, and they also like to get their friends and their neighbors involved. So there's that kind of if you will, organic growth that happens when these programs get started. But then you really need to continue to communicate and educate so that the community really starts to get engaged and embrace it. So, starting a program, within the first 1 to 2 years, you're going to be in that 10 to 20% participation. And certainly you want to keep this program sustainable and ongoing. And I think Jody had mentioned that when she, renewed her contract, that, once you start an organics, a curbside program, you really want to keep it going. So that's really, it is about organic growth and keeping people involved. And the other question I'd like to maybe just put out there, we see very little contamination in our residential organics co-collection program. And we believe the main reason is that people really love source separating organics at home, and they're really good at doing it at home. In addition, we do provide like a brochure and some other communications to help remind people, how to source separate properly at home.
Makes sense. And Deb, can you speak to how Organic Solutions and In Your Lane approach contamination is dealt with? Is there mechanical or other methods you employ in the technical side of things, for what contamination does happen?
So let me just further describe, how the bags get separated. We don't break open the bags. In fact, the reason for our durable compostable bag is that we want to keep that material intact in the bag so that it goes to the composter, and that the composter then can, mix the material in with their browns or any other material that they have, at their composting operation. And just one example, like the composter in Minnesota, who's really been involved in our co-collection program since its inception. The composter is SET, the malt store. They've reported back to us, and they don't see much contamination. You might get a straw or a fruit sticker now and then, but really residents who participate and volunteer to be part of the organics co-collection program are very good at source separation. So again, the bags are designed to stay intact so that the material, the organics, goes directly to the composter. And there certainly are communities that are using our bags, and I'll say, kind of Boston, Metro West. And I do know that the food waste collected in our bags, the bags are intentionally split open because the food is becoming turned into a slurry, and then that food waste slurry is then sent to anaerobic digester at a wastewater treatment facility. So, the program can be adaptable, based on a municipality's need and the infrastructure that's in place.
Sure. And thinking about that, Jody, I think you mentioned that, even if someone were to be a backyard composter or a home composter, having this curbside option provides the ability for people to put items they wouldn't be able to process on their own into the system and be recovered. Would compostable packaging fall in this category? If you guys all could maybe speak to how compostable packaging and compostable food serviceware in particular is factored in, that would be great.
Jody?
You guys might know more about it than me as far as when it comes to the backyard composting, but if it does, but I would assume that foodware, that you can, anything that's BPA certified or BPI certified can go in the blue bag organics. So any of the food serviceware and things, as long as it's certified organics, then it can, or compostable.
Yeah.
So we put on all of our flyers to residents about that certified compostable products, and we have the BPI and the Cedar Grove label on there, so people can recognize those labels and know and make sure that their products are certified compostable products.
Yeah, and that's a great subject to bring up. Any food serviceware that has the BPI label indicates to the consumer as well as to the composter that material is certified to be compostable. Now, certainly, the thickness of a compostable fork or a bowl can, compost differently in different composting operations and technologies, again, because of that particular part thickness. But compostable food serviceware is really not going to compost and biodegrade in your backyard home composting bin or pile. So you certainly want to put that into your blue bag or your green bag for, organics co-collection for curbside. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we similar to to what Jody's saying, we accept all the compostable items in our program as well as paper towels and tissues and other paper waste that is not recyclable. But yeah, contamination is definitely, a concern. Like I think what Jody was saying, our residential stream is very clean, as opposed. But yeah, we're definitely having some more issues, applying it to the commercial sector. But thus far, the composter that we're sending it to is telling us that things are pretty clean coming from Boulder, which is great. And I'm definitely encourage businesses to try to go all compostable when in their to-go items and things like that. But it is, as everybody knows, cost prohibitive. Some of these items can be 3-4 times more expensive than your basic, styrofoam and cheaper materials like that. And then there's always the issues where the forks and cups and whatever, they look just like plastic ones. And so people get confused, and plastic is ending up in the compost stream, and compostable stuff is ending up in the trash. And that's definitely a concern, and something that we are hoping to just continue to address with increased education. I am also trying to work on a way that we can incentivize the use of these compostable items with a local manufacturer of them. So more details on that program might develop, but we're trying to find ways that we can make it more palatable for businesses to actually use those types of items.
Makes sense. And can I ask, we had a few audience questions around the idea of bagless collection and whether that was an option considered in Boulder or Medina, and then maybe, Deb, if you can speak to how it's worked more broadly and what role the bag itself has played in co-collection. I know that, in winter, in very cold winter areas, there's some unique attributes.
I can speak to Medina first. As far as we started out with a separate cart before we went into the Blue Bag program, and so residents needed to buy their own bags when they were doing that. So I wouldn't say, I guess they could have done it bagless because it was sorted separately, but then they would need to wash their carts, and I think most people chose to buy their own bags. And the thing that was great about going to the Blue Bag program and having these separate bags is that then we could reduce that extra cart, and we didn't have three carts at the end of the curb with garbage or recycling and organics. We only had the 2, and then the organic waste was just in that, and so we reduced the truck off the roads. And then speaking of that, I did have Ron Alexander had a couple questions for Medina on the bags, so I was going to maybe just address that as part of this. He had asked how much if the Medina provides them, and I responded on the Q&A that yes, the Randy's Environmental Services was the one who does all of our billing, so the city of Medina doesn't have to be involved in the cost of any of it. So the bill, included in that $5 a month for your recycling and your organics program, you're in fact then paying for the bag. So Randy's delivers a year's supply of the bags, and you get 60 bags per year on your anniversary date of when you started the program. And you can have, there's 2 sizes, and I meant to mention this during our presentation, I forgot. So there's 13-gallon is the standard size that everybody gets, and then you have to have your own 13-gallon container to put your organic waste in. Otherwise, Randy's also offers a 33-gallon bag and a 32-gallon container that you can then keep in your garage with a lid if you wanted to take them up on if they will provide that container for you, and then you have if you have a lot of organic waste each week, then you can do that method, and then it's still the same blue bag and you can tie the knot. So you have the choice between a 13-gallon or a 33-gallon bag.
I'd like to also address the question of it's slightly different obviously in Medina, but for here, as far as using the bags versus just straight bagless in carts. From a business perspective, there are some businesses that have chosen to do that for the very reason that bags are expensive, and if they have a system that works for them, that's great. But essentially, you have to carry then that whole container, which can be pretty darn heavy, full of compostable materials. Carry it out to the dumpster in the back, empty it, and then you have to clean it out every day with water. So that can be, you're using a lot of water, and even if you clean it out, you're still going to have residual food in there that can eventually start to rot and smell. So the bags really help with that. Now, we also do allow businesses to use regular trash bags and empty that material out into the dumpsters out in the back, and then either reuse that bag or throw it out. But again, then you have the lazy employee who just forgets and throws a whole bag in there. So that's why we do encourage the use of these bags. And also, and I saw a question from somebody in New York. Like if you're on the 64th floor of a building and you got to carry your entire bin down to the dumpster outside, that's going to be quite challenging. And carrying bags it's a lot easier.
And one other observation I'd like to add to that. So, the compostable bag is really a backbone tool to any organics recycling program, whether it's residential or commercial. But speaking from the residential perspective, when you use the compostable bag and tie a knot and put that in the cart for your trash day, that organic material is now secure in a bag, and nobody can throw, if you will, contaminants into that cart. So the purpose is to keep that organic stream as clean as possible so that it can get to the composter. You can watch people, walking down the sidewalk, and maybe they've got their little doggy poopy bag or whatever. If they threw that into the cart, at least it's not going to get commingled with the food waste, because that food waste is within a compostable bag and that knot is tied. And a lot of the marketing that we provide to communities, and especially what we call our trifold brochure, it's easy as 1, 2, 3, keeping that organics secure and tying a good knot in that bag, and then putting that bag in the trash container. So we really believe that the bag really makes it easy and keeps everything, if you will, clean, so that source-separated waste stream, the organics, makes it to its final destination for, being turned into soil amendment products.
Excellent. Well, I think we have time for one, maybe 2 questions left before we have to break. So I'd love to ask how landscape waste, green waste, is factored into these programs. And Deb, on the technical side and the layered approach, is yard waste something that can be processed?
So yard waste, should go, directly to a composter. So you're not going to be bringing yard waste into any type of a material recovery facility. There are communities that can and are starting to use our green bag organics, which is just like the blue bag, only the different color, and will co-collect with yard waste. The material won't be separated because the composter is taking both the bagged food waste with the yard waste. There's a good reason to keep the food waste in that bag separated from the yard waste, and again, that's depending on the regulations in that state or community. You have to move your food waste off your pad much quicker than you do the yard waste. So the bag actually helps the composter in managing the materials. I hope that kind of answered that question about mixing it with yard waste.
Yeah, in Medina, we have on our promotional material that you can have household plants and flowers in your organics collection, but we don't encourage all your yard waste in it because it wouldn't really fit in the blue bag. But we do offer a separate yard waste program for our residents. We have a brush pile that residents are free to drop off leaves and brush in our brush pile, and we compost it ourselves, and residents are welcome to our compost pile behind our city hall with the yard waste. So that's a free service to our Medina residents, and then a lot of the people in the community that do have the backyard, they can just do that themselves.
As far as in Boulder, the vast majority of the yard waste is going to be coming from the residential sector. So since 2008, when the curbside composting began, residents are able to put yard waste next to the cart or even in the cart because it's all ending up going to the same place anyway. So in addition to the one cart that haulers are required to offer their residents, residents can put down 3 bundles of yard waste material 3 feet by 6 feet long next to the cart, and those will get picked up, as well as 3 bags of leaves in a paper or compostable bag. And then, and then of course you got your business, your landscapers and whatnot who have traditionally been bringing that yard waste to Western Disposal's transfer station anyway, where they separate out that yard waste. So pretty much from a residential standpoint, all of that material is going to go into the same truck, and then it's going to get separated out either at the Western Disposal transfer station, if it's Western that is actually the hauler, or if it's a different hauler, they'll just take it directly to the composter, who will then separate it out there.
Wonderful. Well, I think this is all the time we have for today, but thanks so much, you all, for such a fantastic discussion. I have a couple closing words. If you've enjoyed today's webinar, please consider becoming a member of the Composting Collaborative. Any company, organization, or government entity is eligible to become a member, and membership is free. It's a quick online application at our website, compostingcollaborative.org. You'll be able to stay in the loop about Composting Collaborative's work, in-person events, and future webinars. So with that, I'd love to tell you about our webinar that will be happening next month, Thursday, June 14th, same time, 1 to 2:15 p.m. EST. It's a really interesting topic, and we'll be exploring the social science and psychology of organics recycling and how to design programs to change behavior. We're going to be hearing from Jennifer Tabanico and Caitlin Phelps with Action Research, who are going to share some fantastic learnings from research they've done, as well as some really exciting case studies. And next month, you won't be hearing from me, but our June webinar will be instead moderated by Nora Goldstein, editor of BioCycle and founding partner of the Composting Collaborative. So with that, I want to give a really big thank you again to all of our speakers. Deb, Mark, and Jody, thank you so much for your time and participation. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you.
Thanks, all. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and a last reminder that we will be sending a recording and version of these slides tomorrow. Thanks so much.